Can't see you. Don't worry. I'm in the same area. Hi, everybody. We are homeschooling, and we would like to invite you to homeschool with us. If you've never done it before, we thought this could be a great time for anybody who is having children at home instead of in school. We have Jacob, who is 10, and Emilyn, who is 12, and we're going to be going through our day, and you're welcome to join us. This is kind of a last-minute idea we had, so we I decided just to try putting this online. So our day is listed up here, but we're going to do a little bit of spelling first. And if you haven't already, if you decide to join us, go ahead and send us a little message. I need to send a link of this stream. So, kiddos, I want you guys to start with a little spelling review. I'm going to throw out 10 words, and we'll just see how it goes, okay? We're doing a lot of, looks like these are a lot of OUS words. Oh, those are the words from last week. So I'm going to skip those for a sec. Okay. First word we're going to start with is curtain. Curtain. Put the cat down and grab a pencil. All right. We're going to start with the word curtain. This one has a couple of interesting things about it. I'll write it down as soon as we get going. Let me share this live stream. There it is. Share. While we're doing this, I'm gonna go over to Facebook and share this on my Facebook page. If anybody wants to join. All right, curtain. Emilyn, you seemed rather certain that you knew how to spell curtain.
I always do.
What do you think?
CURTAIN.
Well done. Why did the C say K instead of S?
Because it's not followed by any I.
Because it is not followed by an E, I, or Y. So C says usually when there's an E, I, or Y after it, this one doesn't. And what's weird about these three letters?
They say AIN. No,
They say
N.
Right. Why do they say N instead of AIN?
No.
I have no idea.
Wait, no.
I'll give you a hint. If I said complain, that would end also in AIN. But if I say curtain, it ends in AIN.
Accent.
The accent. So if the syllable is on the, or if the accent is on the AIN, then AIN will say AIN. If the accent is on a different syllable, then the AIN says N. Very good. Okay. So I'm going to post this on Facebook real quick. And if people would like to come along, what's on your mind? We are homeschoolers. What should I say? Would you like to join us for homeschool? If you're with kids and want them to keep learning, we will be doing school together for, we're just 5. For, we'll say, about 10 to 12-year-olds. And then how do I post? How do I share a link?
He sent it to the classes.
Oh, that's a fun thought. We could send it to our friends. Well, a lot of our friends will get this. I'm going to post this there and there. And I'm going to put the link below it. Fetching preview. Post. Never done that before. All right. Let's see what happens. Okay. We did curtain. Next word is umbrella. Can you guys write down umbrella?
No, don't even.
Oh, that's hard to see. Let me move this a little closer here and see if I can get a better angle of the whiteboard. Especially if I angle it this way. Yeah. No. You gotta wait. Alrighty. Jacob, curtain. No, not curtain. Umbrella.
UMB.
UMB. Look at me, Jacob. I'm gonna write this nice and big so people can see. UMB A.
Yeah.
Got that? And what's something tricky about this word?
There's two L's.
The double L, that protects this E so it doesn't say umbrella. But what else? There's one other vowel in here that's doing something kind of funny.
The A says
The A says Ooh, that's nice and dark. So why does the A say Similar to the last word.
Oh.
Unaccented A's can say instead of A. All right? Next word. Let's try one of our words from recently. Hazardous. Hazardous.
Did you send the link to the lessons?
I just put it on my Facebook.
Oh, then
Did you write hazardous yet?
yes.
Got it.
I wonder if I can send it on my phone while it's, I bet I can. Just find it on my phone. Okay. Emmy, what do you think?
Hazardous.
H hazardous.
Wait, did I forget?
There's hazard. And if we want to make it an us word,
Oh,
Yes.
very good. O-U-S says us at the end of words.
House.
I said at the end of words. There's no E at the end of this. House has an E on the end. All right.
I said house. I said house.
Okay, here's a weird word. Spell the word weird.
It's not a word.
It is a weird word. We're going to spell weird.
Wait, is it one of the exceptions?
No, it's not. It's fine.
Let's see. All right, Jacob, what do you think? How do you spell a weird word?
W-E-I-R-D.
Say that again.
W-E-I-R-D.
E-I-R-D is weird. Why is that a weird word?
Yeah.
So what's the rule? What's the I before E rule? So normally it would be I before E, unless there was a C after it, then it would be E-I-C. Or in certain words that say A, like in hey. No, we're doing E-I. Like in wake. Like in way. There's
Hey.
E-I. So this doesn't say A, and there's no C, but the generalization of I before E doesn't work for this word. It's a weird word. All right. Next, spell the word nickel. We'll just do this. This will be our last review word, and then we'll get into some new
I
stuff.
have a cold sore.
Spell the word nickel. What I'm going to do is mix in all of our OUS words from last week into our pile of old words. So in the future, as we come across them, we can practice. What I do is I have a stack of words. We do the all about spelling lessons, and each lesson has about 10 words. These are all the words we've gone through this year. So each day we just spend a little time reviewing, and then we do a new set of words. What do you think?
Is it N-I-C-K-E-L?
N-I-C-K-E-L is how you spell nickel. What was challenging about that word?
L-E versus E-L.
So question, is this going to be an L-E word or an E-L? And sometimes you don't have a lot of hints. So oftentimes words that end with col will just be C-L-E. That's pretty common. So C-K-L-E wouldn't happen very often. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
But it's E-L, not L-E.
Look at the word pickle.
That's true.
So this is just one of those ones you have to remember. Bummer. All right. New words. You guys ready?
I thought we finished our spelling.
No.
So, no, we finished our review.
The spelling book.
No.
No, we have not. Ooh, now we're getting into ways of spelling ubble or ibble. And there's lots of different ways to do that. So, listen to these words real quick. Edible, don't write them down. Horrible, incredible. What sound did each of those words end in?
Double.
Yeah, listen again. Edible, horrible, incredible.
Ibble.
Ibble, yeah, ibble. Whoa, cat just popped a balloon. We had a birthday last week. Okay, ibble. So ibble, in this case, is going to be spelled I-B-L-E. Ibble. So I'm going to give you 10 words, and we're going to practice spelling these words and just get used to the look of ibble. Before we do that, I'm going to have you guys read some words just to practice panicking. Don't panic. Where are our ibble words? Here they are. Don't worry. Okay, I'm going to write them up on the board, and you guys read them as we go. So we won't do too many because that'll take forever. Ready? Let's see if I can write.
Legible.
Cool. Jacob.
Ready.
Next is Jacob. Read the word.
Oh, legible.
No, the next
Tang-
one.
Tangable?
Jacob, tangible.
G says J for E, I, or Y
Yeah.
usually. Yeah.
But what is that word?
Tangible means you can touch it.
Isn't that touchable?
Feasible.
Feasible. If something is feasible, it is
Like feasible.
believable or doable. Jacob. Visible. Emilyn. Jake, can you stop moving that chair, please? Put your foot down. Sit up.
Intelligible.
Very good. Jacob. Plausible. Yes. Do a few more of these just to kind of get it in your head. This is Emilyn's favorite.
Divisible.
Yes.
Oh, I know why.
Divisible.
Oh, I did. That makes sense now.
Jacob is very.
Flexible.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, not anymore. since
Not
I-
anymore.
I haven't had practice.
Admissible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Admissible. Mm-hmm. Ooh, here's a good one, Jacob.
Indelible.
Indelible. Yes.
What's that mean?
You can look it up if you want.
Don't want to.
Emilyn?
Can I look it up on my personal security?
Emilyn?
Illegible.
Very close. Eligible.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yep, eligible. That's a weird word. It sounds like it should have long vowels, but it only has short vowels. Or it looks like it should have long vowels. Last one, Jake. Credible, as opposed to incredible.
Indicable.
Alrighty. So those are some practice words. I'm going to give you your new words today. And what I'll do is I'll say the word. I want you to guess how to spell it, and then I'll show everybody. Okay? Quiet pencil, bud. You guys ready? 10 words. First word is horrible.
Am I supposed to spell?
I want you to. What did I just say?
I don't remember.
Okay, write it down.
Write down the word.
Wait. Oh my god.
Horrible. The word is horrible.
I bet you can do worse.
Okay. Tearing up our new cards for the week. Next word.
Jake, you so.
Actually, I'm going to go through these one at a time. Jacob, how did you spell horrible?
HORRIBLE.
I couldn't hear you, so put your face up and spell clearly, please. HORRIBLE. Next word, flexible. Remember, we're working on, or what we're working on this week. Ibble at the end of words. All right, Emilyn, how do you spell flexible?
FLEXIBLE.
Very good, flexible. All righty, Jacob. Okay, we're working on Ibble words. Oh, guys, I think we have a couple people joining us. If you're joining us, send us a little note and say hi and who you are. All right, next word, working on Ibble words. Collectible. Jacob has some collectible things. Jacob, can you write collectible and then tell me how you spell it? Right now, bud. Sit up, please. Or I'm going to have you take off your
I'm
firewall.
writing it.
Sit up, or I'm going to have you take off your firewall. Okay. Thanks. Head off the table. All right. It's a sleepy Monday morning, isn't it?
COLLECTIBLE.
Do it again slowly.
COLLE.
Don't look at the card.
COLLECTIBLE.
Excellent. Collectible. Okay, next one, audible, meaning you can hear it. If something is audible, that means you can hear it. No? I'm going to put it here. Emily, can you see this?
I did get it right.
Oh, okay. I'll put it up when you're ready. Tell us how to spell audible.
AUDIBLE.
Audible. Very good. Next one, incredible. We're doing incredible. I don't know who that is. I don't know who's joined us, but somebody has joined us.
You.
All right. Spelling incredible. Go. Jacob.
INCREDIBLE.
Incredible. Ibble. All right. Next one, edible, meaning you can eat it. This card is not edible.
So soon.
Not our cats. Our cats should make an appearance soon, shouldn't they? Alrighty. Emilyn, edible.
EDIBLE.
ILE. Yep.
Okay.
EDIB. Oh, just
No,
IBL.
EDIBLE.
Right.
Sorry.
It's weird. I'm looking at the screen, and to me, it's backwards, so I can't read that very well. But you spelled it right. Next word, possible. This is our halfway mark for our 10 words this week that we're going to be practicing, which are Ibble
You
words.
see it backwards. Don't they see it backwards?
No, just
They
me.
say forward.
They see it forwards, but I see it backwards because it would weird me out if I were on the other side doing opposite things. Okay, possible, Jacob. Is it possible to spell the word possible?
POSSIBLE.
Hold on. Do it again.
POSSIBLE.
POSSIBLE. Very good. Sensible. Sensible. What do you think, Emmy?
SENC.
Sense. SENS. We can do a closed vowel sen, then si or sensible. Yeah. That's what I got. Okay. Next one, legible. Make sure to write this word very clearly. Sensible.
No, legible.
Legible. We just did sensible. Legible. Jacob, your turn.
LEGIBLE.
LEGIBLE. And why does the G say J?
I have no idea.
You do
because
too.
It's an E.
Why did the G say J?
It's an E after the
Wait, look at how you wrote it. What comes after the G?
Makes the G.
No, I
I
G
after
makes-
G. So I's, EI's, and F and often Y's after G's. Make the G say J. Alrighty. Next word, if you're spelling with us, is visible. I'd like to set this thing up so you guys could be seen as well. If you just so it's.
No quiero.
No, thank you. Alrighty, Emilyn, spell visible for us.
VISIBLE.
Visible. There it is.
Mine's up.
All right. Ooh. Long one. Oh, these are for next week. I'm sorry. We're already through. All right. Now what I'm gonna do is be done with spelling. That's it for that.
It's my week to do the 2 lesson practices that Jacob's doing.
Oh, really? All right.
But first,
Okay, so we're gonna take a quick pause. Kids are gonna get a drink and go to the bathroom. Maybe we all need to go to the bathroom. And we'll be back with some math. Can I put up a little screen that says we'll be right back in a few minutes with math? I wonder if I can do that. Or I could just write it up on the whiteboard. And that's hardly legible. Jake, do you need to get a drink or go to the bathroom? Now's the time. So I'll need to get a better broadcasting setup, I think, if we want to keep doing this. I don't think I can even put up like a pause screen. Struggling. Okay. Be back in a few minutes for math. Hold on. Okay, Demi, let's get started. Alrighty, we're back and we are about to get started with some math. We've been homeschooling for about 6 or 7 years since Emilyn, who's now 12, was in kindergarten, I guess. And so now what we're going to be doing is math that she's doing, which is 6th or 7th grade or 8th grade. We'll just call it middle school math. But the nice thing is, even if you're younger, we'll review some fundamentals, so you're welcome to follow along. And if it's new or review, that's okay. It's still math, and we'll try to make it interesting.
What lesson am I
Hmm,
on? I kind of can't remember.
I don't know.
Okay.
Jacob, could you and me both find your lessons from last week? And we're gonna go over them. What's that? No, I'll have you do a kitty cat showing a little bit later. Okay, can you say hi?
Hi. I have a big
Okay,
glass.
I'm gonna focus mostly on the whiteboard because we're gonna do most of our work up there, and we'll try and draw nice and big, okay? Can I have your book?
I can't remember. One second. I think I might.
So what we'll do with Emilyn is we're going to go through a couple lessons in her math book, and I'm going to do the new teaching for her, while Jacob, who is in 4th grade, and he's doing the book right before this, which is Saxon 5-6, and Emilyn's doing Saxon 6-7. Jacob's going to be working on some review problems from a previous lesson, so he's going to be doing that while Emilyn and I do some new lessons. If you have questions, or if you're just tuning in and want to say hi, say a little comment, something there. Yep, Crippins. I'm saying hi.
Oh, cool.
Hi, Crippins.
Hi, Marcus.
We can't see them. They're just there. There's Jacob. Okay, Jacob, do you have your math from last week that you can give to me? Emmy, where's your math from last week? Is it
I
over
think
there?
I already showed it to you.
Probably over here.
So I can go to
Oh, you did show it to me last Thursday. That's right. Oh, Emmy, this is interesting stuff.
What is it?
Okay, Jake, can you work quietly while you go?
Oh.
Which one are you on, bud?
Oh no, but didn't you already learn this?
Hold on. Which one are you on, Jake?
I am 189.
That's a new lesson.
Uh-huh.
Go back one lesson and do the mixed practice.
Daddy?
No, that's the one that I did mixed practice for last time.
Oh, Jacob's on mixed practice.
No.
Or, I mean, you're on mixed practice.
No, but I did lessons last time.
Yeah, now you do mixed practice. So you're going to do, this is your problem set.
Okay.
Yeah, because I had already corrected that. Okay, Jacob, come on over.
So can you read my
Wait, am I going to be in the video?
What's that?
Yes.
It can't see you
Why not?
unless you want it to see.
In that case, I do not.
Okay, so we're going to change it up. We got confused. Today is Jacob's day to do a few new lessons. So we're going to do a couple math lessons. Jacob's in 4th grade, although this lesson could apply to 4th, 5th, or 6th graders. And we already did transformations. Yeah, it could, depending on something. So, finding a square root.
Jump.
Alrighty.
Hang on.
I'm gonna draw up on the board here a square-ish. Okay. First try, not too bad.
Daddy,
Okay. Jacob,
wait,
we're gonna-
what day of March is it?
today, March 16th. So I'm gonna divide this square. Oops. Into 5 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh. And 5 columns.
Ooh. Tomorrow's, no, day after tomorrow's investigation.
I'm struggling
else do you-
today. I'm struggling. Okay. And we're going to talk about something called the square root. It's a terrible square. Okay. Close enough.
Yeah.
So if we know that this has 25 boxes in the middle, okay? 25 squares in the middle of this.
Well, if it's 5 by 5.
Then, and we know that it's a square, that means we know that whatever number is on one side is going to be the same number on the other side. And if we remember, I'm going to get a different color. That whatever number, Jacob, that whatever number represents the total number of squares inside of here would be a result of what? How would we get this number inside, Jacob? How do we get this number inside these numbers? We would multiply,
times width.
right, the area of a square equals length times width. So in this case, let's say the length is any number. If we multiply that number times itself, which is what happens on a square, Jacob, you're not paying attention. I could have you sit here this way. So if we know that one number multiplied by itself is whatever's inside, because it's a square, then we know that that number times itself is going to equal 25. Yeah?
What, 25 times 25?
No?
No.
If the number inside is 25, then this number times this number equals 25. Yeah? So, do you know what the number is? That's the first question. What number times itself? Right. So we know that 5 times 5 equals 25. Yeah? So last week, Jacob, look up here, bud. Last week we learned another way to write 5 times 5. Do you remember what it was?
5 plus
5
Okay.
squared.
Oh, yeah. 5.
Right? 5 squared is 25.
Or 5 to the 5, too.
So how would we do this backwards? If instead of squaring a number to get 25, what if we knew 25, but we didn't know what number to square? There's a math symbol for this.
25 divided by 5. Oh,
But we don't know what the 5 is.
hang on. It was pencil.
It's called a square root.
There we go. That's what it
And we would say, what is the square root of 25? The square root of 25 is
the square
5.
root. 5.
Right. So if we know the area inside of the box, Jacob, how do we find inside the square? How do we find the side of the square?
By dividing the area, by dividing the area of the square by a fifth. No, not a fifth.
By 5. We
Well,
would
in
have
that
to say.
particular
We
problem,
would have to say what number times itself is 25. Another way to say that is using this symbol. How would you say this, buddy?
25 squared equals 5.
No, not square.
I mean, the
The
square root of 25
Good.
equals.
You put your feet on the floor. The square root of 25 equals 5. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Dropped a pencil.
So let's do a little table, buddy. Jacob, look up here. We're going to make a chart. Look up here, not at the screen. Turn your chair. Thank you. So let's go down. What's 1 times 1?
2, 1,
1 times 2.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, what's 2 times 1?
2,
2 times 2.
4, 6,
Okay, 3 times 1.
3, 6, 9, 12, 15.
4. We're just going to count, right?
4, 8, 12, 16, 20.
Cool. 5.
5 to 50. No. 25.
Where are the square roots? Can you take this marker and circle all the square roots on that chart? Ooh, I didn't draw a chart very good. It kind of angles this one. That's okay.
Oh.
Find the square roots. Circle. Excellent. So anytime a number gets multiplied with itself, we get the square root. And so we get this nice pattern that goes down the chart. 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times 5 is 25. Jacob, can you skip count the square roots up to, let's say, 8? 149.
149, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81. It's 64.
64. Good job. All right, so those are called square roots. Let's do a little practice problem. You counted the perfect squares, but the number that we multiply to get the perfect square is called the square root. Okay, Jacob, do this. Square root of, do this up on the whiteboard. 9 plus 16, hopefully you can see that,
Square root.
is greater than or less than.
Wait, does square root of 9 plus 6 mean
is greater than, we'll work on this together, is greater than or less than the square root of 9 plus the square root of 16. So let's simplify this. What's 9 plus 16?
1 plus 16 is 24. No, 25.
25. So now we're going to say actually it's the square root of 25. Is greater than or less than, what's the square root of 9?
3.
And what's the square root of 16?
4.
4. What's the square root of 25?
5.
So is 5, and what's 3 plus 4?
7. 507.
5 is greater than or less than 7.
Well, that's hard,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Excellent. Where'd the cap go to the green marker? Do you have it?
Yep.
Oh no, I put it on. Oh, that's funny. Somehow I got the caps on wrong markers. So, here's an important rule. We always got to do what's inside of here first. Don't look at the screen. The screen is backwards, so it's hard to read. All right, so let's go through some problems. Find each answer, buddy. What's the square root of, it's hard to see the green. What's the square root of 1?
1.
Cool. Easy, because 1 times 1 equals 1. What's the square root of 4?
2.
Because 2 times 2 equals 4. What's the square
3.
root of 16? Next. What is the square root of 49?
49.
Mm-hmm.
I got 13. No.
No? Just keep counting.
Oh, 9.
1,
I'm
4.
at 7.
It's 7. Good. 7 times 7 equals 49. Okay, compare these two. Compare these, Jacob. Square root of 36 is greater than or less than 3 squared. Let's figure it out. What's the square root of 36?
3 squared is better.
What's the square root of 36? Oops.
The square root of 36 is
Cool. Put your feet on the ground again. What's 3 squared?
plus 3 is 9.
You did it. All right. Here we go. Last practice problem for this set. Square root of 25 minus the square root of 16. Can you do it? Square root of 25 minus the square root of 16.
5 minus 4 equals 1.
Write it on the board with your steps. No, that's not what I said.
But
Write it on the board with write your steps. I didn't ask you to write the answer. I said write the steps.
what?
Really? Okay, steps mean you do each part of the problem and you write down the parts and then you show the answer. So let's do the first step, which is what's the square root of 25?
The square root of 25 is 5.
Okay, so you can write that down.
Okay.
Right underneath, right underneath, right here. Okay. And then what we're doing is we're rewriting the problem. So put the minus in there so we don't forget what we're doing. And now we can write the answer, which is, can't write that. Can you try again? Equals 1. Nice job. Square root of 25 minus the square root of 16 equals 1. Okay. Hey, Jacob. Put your feet on the floor. Okay. I want you to turn your chair toward the whiteboard because we're going to do one more instruction. This is about reducing fractions. I'm going to show you 2 equivalent fractions, okay?
Oh, dear.
Okay. What fraction does this picture represent? 1/2. What fraction does this
4
represent? 4/8. And these are equal, or we call them equivalent. Yeah? And we can turn 4/8 into 1/2. How? What if we If we divide 4/8 by what? On the board. What can we divide 4/8 by to turn it
2
into
over
1?
2.
Not quite.
I mean 4 over 4.
4 over 4, which is equal to 1. And anytime you divide something by 1, what do we know about that? Any number divided by 1 is
Another fraction equal to
itself. Any number divided by 1 equals itself. And that's part of the identity law, right? Okay. So if we divide 4 by 4, we get 1. If we divide 8 by 4, we get 2. So that's how we can turn 4/8 into 1/2. Oh, this is all just reducing. So what we're going to do is figure out what we can divide each of these fractions by to reduce the fraction. Let's reduce this fraction, 8 over 12. We're going to look for one number that we can divide both of these numbers by. What can they both be divided by?
4.
Cool. So we'll divide the top by 4 and the bottom by 4. What's 8 divided by 4?
8 divided by 4 is 2.
2. And 12 divided by 4?
6. I mean, divided by 4, what the heck? 3.
3. So 8/12 equals 2/3. Nice. Okay, next challenge. Let's write 40% as a reduced fraction. So we're going to start, Jacob, with, put your feet on it. That's what we're starting. 40%. First of all, how do we turn 40% into a fraction? Ooh, we got sunshine coming.
40% into fraction.
Mhm.
40 hundredths.
Good. 40% is the same thing as 40 over 100. How would we reduce that? Which is the same thing as 4 over 10, because we can.
0.
Now what can we divide both of these by?
Oh. Wait. By 4 tenths.
What do we divide 4 and 10 by? They're both even numbers.
Wait, to do what?
We're going to reduce that fraction because it can reduce.
4 over 4? No.
Every even number can be divided by
1.
2. All right, what's 4 divided by 2?
2.
10 divided by 2?
5.
So 40% is equivalent to 2/5. Okay? All right, I'm going to write some problems up on the board for you to sit in my chair. And I want you to write the answers.
Fancy.
We're going to switch to purple.
Cool, I like purple.
Whoa. I'm going to pick up the pen. Alrighty, if you're following us at home, you are welcome to do these problems yourself, okay? So I'm going to write, how many problems are there? 6, 7, 8, 12. Jacob's giving us a thumbs up. Can you guys see those all right? You can. 16, 24. Thank you for keeping things interesting, Jacob. Okay, why don't you start with those? Come sit in my chair. Here you go. Okay, Jake, I'll give you a few minutes to work on this. Sit in my chair.
Well, oh dang it, I'm doing divided by. What the heck? 4 12
I think they got I just know the curriculums are tuned in. I'm gonna go to Facebook and see if I can.
Thank you.
Done.
You finished, Betty?
No, don't. That's a song for Jake's phone.
Hey, Jake, I don't want to hear rap right now.
Well, come on.
Sorry.
The
it's too
cricket's
early.
like enough.
That was for the crickets. Nice. Marcus is doing math with us, guys. Hi, Marcus.
Yoo-hoo! Is he doing the same stuff he's doing?
You will listen to two videos.
Jake, I paid for check.
Well,
I can
hey,
fix
Jacob.
this.
I said I don't want to hear rap right now. Can I have the marker? Thank you.
I hear you.
Hey, okay, buddy. All right, you have a few more problems we're going to work on. I'm not quite done yet. What time is it? 9:25. Awesome. Alrighty. So what we have to do is 2 steps, Jacob, for this next group of problems. We're going to reduce the fractions, and then we're going to add them up, okay? If we can reduce. So let's start with this. 7/16 plus 1/16. Oh, it looks like we're going to add and then reduce. All right. How do we add 7/16 and 1/16? And 1/16. There we go. Can we add these?
8/16
Cool.
or 8/32
Equals what? Can we reduce 8/16 feet on 4?
1/2.
Hey, keep feet on 4. 1/2. So what are we dividing them by?
So 2.
No. We can do that, but then we'd have to do it again. Is there a bigger number we can divide both of
Oh,
these by?
4.
Is there an even bigger number we can divide both of these by? There you go.
How the heck?
Divided by 8 over 8 equals, what's 8 divided by 8? 1. What's 16 divided by 8?
8.
What's 16 divided by 8? 2. Nice. All right, next one.
Jacob is woozy, everybody.
Okay, we're going to do 3/4 times 4/5. Jacob, how do you multiply fractions?
Multiply. It's kind of like adding. Gosh, my hiccups are so bad.
What
I
do we
would
do?
do 3 times 4.
Okay, we can multiply straight across, can't we? So let's multiply 3 times 4.
12.
Mm-hmm. And
then
4 times 5.
20.
And how do we reduce? What can we divide both of these by?
6. No. 4. That would be 3. 3/10.
What's 20 divided by 4?
3/5. So this is.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, hang on. Can I get a drink of water? Hiccups are so.
Nope, we're almost done.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, almost done.
Oh my gosh.
It's entertaining.
Oh my god.
19/24, Jacob, minus 1/24. Give me the steps.
9.
Put your feet on the floor. Sit up.
That's
Sit up.
18/24. And then
Can we divide both of those by?
blah blah. 6.
Mm-hmm.
That would be 3. Yeah, 3/4.
There you go. Jacob's waking up.
Fair.
All right.
Oh, good.
Okay, get a quick drink. I'm going to write 3 percentages up here and I'll have you reduce them.
Explodes.
Jacob, come back. Okay. I put everything up here for you. I want you to fill it out. Okay?
Oh my God, just right. That's from 10 to 4. No, it was
Get
right.
that? You're about to get an extra short if you're not listening.
Okay.
Okay, here you go. Write all the steps. So 25% equals what fraction? Then we're going to divide that by what fraction, which is going to equal the final answer, which is a reduced fraction.
Divided by, let's say, 5.
You can stand on this side, buddy, so it's easier to write.
Let's say 5
Wait,
over 5.
This is a fraction line, so you can write the one number on top and one number on the bottom.
Oh, 25% equals what fraction?
Mm-hmm.
5 over 5?
No. 25 over what? What a percentage mean?
25 over 5?
No, a percentage is any number over.
Oh my gosh. Lonniest. Wow, that was a really bad 4.
All right, write big and clear, buddy, so that people who are watching can see.
Gosh, it's really hard for me to write like that. Divided by oh well. Gosh, my writing is terrible. Did.
Okay. I see one of your answers can still be reduced.
No, 6 tenths.
Mm-hmm. What can you divide 6 and 10 by?
Oh, 2.
Correct.
3/5.
Nicely done.
I also have cat.
Ha. Okay, you have that. Nice job. You want to take a little break? We're going to go on a walk in a second. Get some fresh air.
Daddy, can we do grammar charts in here so they can like let's go from that.
I want to get outside.
Chicken.
Hey, I don't want to hear it. Hey, I don't want to hear it. It's too much. It's too much talking. The rapping. Yeah, it's still rolling. What should I say? If you're at home with kids due to canceled school, you're welcome to join us for some
Got you. We can diagram sentence.
Absolutely. What's that? A what? A kid introduction. You want to introduce yourself?
No, kitty, he said.
Oh, a kitty introduction. Yes, it's a great time for a kitty introduction. So we take breaks during homeschool. And we have cats. And so Jacob is bringing one.
Now, can I set him on the table just this
No,
once?
no, I don't want him to learn to be on the table.
Table.
Can you tell people who he is?
Okay, this one's Tugger. We got him and his sister like a month ago.
A little over a month.
A little over a month ago. His full name is One Tum Tugger.
Oh, a month and a half.
Hi.
And his full name is One Tum Tugger from a poem that by
T.S. Eliot.
T.S. Eliot.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, can we go say hi to the camera?
He looks very uninterested.
Okay, now we'll go get the other one.
Okay. Oh, you're gonna do the other kitty too.
Of course he is.
Hey, Emmers, why don't you wrap up what you're doing, and we're gonna go on a little walk. So one thing we do is we like to go on little walks to break up the day when the weather's nice, especially when it's in the winter time.
When
We
we
have
can
sunshine.
save grammar when we get back, so we can like do diagram sentence and then do all of them.
We'll see if we have time.
It's perfect.
But I do want to go on a walk. Come on in, Jenny.
So this one's Jenny Any Dots. We are not changing the name of one. We nicknamed her Jenny, and she's the really small one. She is sisters with she is Tugger's sister.
Mm-hmm. Jenny, do you want to say hi? She's feeling very relaxed right now. Here she is.
What are you guys doing? Probably the softest kitties I've ever had.
Probably the softest ever.
Oh, don't touch them.
All right, so I'm going to leave a little note here that says I'm going to go on a little walk. And we'll be back. It's hard to see. Might need to get some fatter markers. Because it's a terrible sun. Because the sun is shining.
I came to the link. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I'll grab the link and we can send it to some people on our walk. Jacob, can you get your shoes on, bud? Oh, I'm gonna mute. Hey guys. And we're back. Nice cold walk. It's 10 o'clock? Yes. Emmy, why don't you grab a little something to snap on? Jacob, are you going to grab an apple? All right.
I can do grammar already.
We'll see.
Could I have a bowl of cereal?
No. You can grab an apple if you want.
I'll have applesauce.
I'm going to mute this while you guys are doing that. Okay, we are going to just do a quick review of what we did on our walk, which was going over 4 verb types, 4 verb attributes, and we'll just do the forms without the time, past, present, or future. 4 verb types. What are the four types of verbs, guys?
Indicative?
No?
Oh, wait, intransitive, transitive.
Hold on. Let's go a little slower. Intransitive, meaning the verb does not transfer what?
It does not transfer the action from the subject to the object.
Good. Next type?
Transit. It does.
Jacob. What do transitive verbs do?
It does. Transfer.
It does transfer what? Please stop taking bites while you're talking.
But it does transfer the action from the subject.
Can you pick that up? It does transfer the action from a subject to an object. Cool. What else?
Linking.
Linking verb. Emmy, what does a linking verb do?
It makes an assertion by joining two words.
Good. And Jacob, last kind is?
Helps another verb. I don't know what.
Assertion.
A certain action being or just. No,
Mhm.
that's a subject.
No, that's
No,
correct.
you're right. It helps another verb assert an action, being, or state of existence. Okay. So So I'm going to give you a sentence. Ready? I cried.
Subject
Or
and
transitive.
transitive.
So the verb cried is transitive or intransitive, or helping or linking.
Intransitive.
Intransitive, because I'm not transferring action. What about I love cats.
Transitive because you're
SVTO.
Just tell me about the verb. The verb
Transitive.
is transitive. Yes.
the cat is receiving the action, which is love.
What about I am dad?
Oh,
Transitive.
Am? Nope.
No, intransitive.
Nope.
Linking, I mean.
It links two words together. So we're linking I and dad to make an assertion about who I am. And then what about I was running?
Helping.
Mm-hmm. What's it? Which one is the helping verb?
Help was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a funny thought.
For-
Helping is not a helping verb.
For attributes.
Indicative.
Hold on. What does it mean if I'm saying I or you or he, she, or it? What do we call that? Verbs can have a person, meaning they can be first person, second person, or third person. So if I say you jump, what person is the verb jump? Second person, exactly. Okay. They can also be singular or plural, Jacob. So what do we call that?
Like singular or what?
Number. We call that the number. That's another attribute. Verbs can be active or passive. What do we call that?
Voice. Yes.
Voice. Active voice or passive voice? An active voice, Jacob, is a verb that's doing what? Or that's being done by whom?
By the subject.
Yeah. And a passive voice is a verb that's being what? It's what?
Shows it's verb being.
It is not being done.
The subject is receiving the action. A passive. Okay? And then we also have these things which are called indicative, imperative, or subjunctive. Those are verb moods. Verbs can have a mood. Okay, and we're not going to review those. What are the four forms?
4 forms of verbs are perfect, simple, perfect.
Simple, which is just the verb. We have perfect, which
A
is.
form of to have plus the verb.
Jacob, what's progressive?
Progressive. To have.
Nope. Perfect is to have.
To be.
A form of to be. Simple is just the verb. And perfect progressive, all right.
Is to have, verb plus to have plus to be.
Perfect progressive is a form of to have plus to be. Plus been, actually.
There we go.
So, quiz real quick. I jump.
I jump is
Simple,
verb intransitive.
which is just the verb, jump.
Simple.
All we're going to do is talk about the forms, okay?
Okay.
So, I jump is a simple. What about I had jumped?
Perfect.
Progressive.
Had is a form of to have. Look up here, buddy.
Oh my gosh.
Jacob,
It's impossible.
Yep. Well, that's why I wrote it up on the board. So, I had jumped. Jacob?
Perfect.
Correct. Because it has a form of to have, which is had. What about I am jumping?
Helping.
What?
No? Is it perfect,
A form of
progressive, or perfect progressive? I am jumping.
Progressive.
Am, which is a form of to be. I am jumping. Or if I say we will be jumping, that's progressive.
Perfect.
What?
Progressive.
No, will be is a form of to be.
Oh.
To get perfect progressive, we have to have a form of to have plus been.
So,
So I
have been.
have been jumping. Is, Jacob, I have been jumping.
Perfect progressive.
Perfect progressive. Mouthful of apple. Nicely done. Time for writing, guys.
Hurry up.
You guys get out your IAW. Get your IAW. Oh, let's back it up. I put this down with your notebook.
Okay, you send me a link to the chat so I can, or they can send it to.
Yes. You want me to Google Hangouts it to you? Okay.
Your eyebrows are sticking out.
Who are you talking to again? The cat?
Emmy,
Yeah, she
you
has
got-
really long eyebrows.
Jacob, you also need a piece of paper and a pencil, right?
Shoot. I can do that.
And let me Google Hangouts. There we go. Share.
Stay. Stay. No, stay.
Paste. There it is. Sure. All right, let me get out my lesson book. We'll walk through this together.
Dad, you sent me lots of links.
We haven't been keeping up. Okay, introductions and conclusions. You guys ready?
Cover.
Hey, Jake, I want you to have the cats off. Look at me, please. No cats on your lap right now. Can you put them down, please? Because I'm going to give you an extra chore if you don't follow my instructions. So put the cat down. Thank you. So sad. Alrighty. Pencils in hand, Emilyn.
Like, I'm human being. No, I'm sending the link.
Yeah, it's time to do our lesson. Okay, so what we're going to work on is
Yes.
I'm about to take your computer away. Introductions and conclusions for our paragraphs from last week. So, let's talk for a second about the story. So we read a story about Genghis Khan and his hawk. And I'm going to have the children talk for a moment about what they liked or disliked about that story. Would you guys mind if I let them see you while you do that? Let me grab.
That's on the table.
Yeah, that's okay. Let me grab the. We'll let the applesauce in. Okay. I'm going to put the computer on a little spinny so we can see people. Let me put your computer away.
But I have my paper on the kitchen.
Well, you're not using the computer right now. Hold
But
on.
it's
kinda
not
cool.
the story's about. Can I read it?
It's really well. We'll talk about it in a second. Jacob. Here he is. Jacob, tell us what you liked or disliked about the story of Genghis Khan and his hawk.
Could I go get the story, like, so I can?
Actually, shall I retell it real quick?
Sure.
So Genghis Khan, I hope that doesn't make people too dizzy. So Genghis Khan, there's a famous story about his hawk that was his hunting companion, his friend. And one day they were out hunting and
Chased.
he got super thirsty. It was
No. First, they chased the deer out past the
Yes.
usual boundaries. That's why he got
Okay.
so thirsty.
Tell us the story. He chased the deer.
He was hunting with his hawk, and he chased a deer unusually far into like around the forest, and so
It was a long hop
yeah, it took a long
train,
time.
right?
And so he used up all his water by the time he caught the deer, so he got really thirsty. And he looked around for a while and they found like a tiny little waterfall.
A stream.
Yeah, and he
trickle.
was trying to fill his cup, but the hawk kept knocking the cup from his hand. And
How many times?
So after 3 times,
Uh-huh.
the hawk, like on the third dive, since he was like not very thoughtful, he was just rather rash. He speared the hawk with his sword. I said plunged into his chest.
Yes.
So
He killed his hawk.
Yes, in a moment of rashness or whatever.
Rage.
Yes, and but by then the water was like tiny little trickles. They went up to the headwaters to find out why, and there was the body of a dead viper with poison seeping into the water, and he was very sad for killing his friend because the hawk was just trying to keep him from drinking snake water.
Yes. So his hawk was trying to save him, and he killed his hawk. So what was the moral, the lesson that he learned?
Don't drink water before
That's not it.
listen to your pet hawk.
He had lost a friend, but he learned a valuable lesson, which was... Yeah, no blues right now, buddy.
Sorry.
Which was, Jacob, can you tell us what was the valuable lesson he learned?
Don't act in anger.
Yeah, acting in anger is probably usually a mistake. Alrighty, I'm going to spin you back around. Ooh, this Lazy Susan is kind of interesting. We now have 3 people. If you're watching this, would you send us a little message and say who you are so we know who you are and we can say hi? Or if you have questions. Okay, so what we did last week is we started writing a review of this story. And what the kids did was they summarized in 3 paragraphs. First paragraph, the setting and the characters. The second paragraph was all about the conflict. And the third paragraph was about the resolution of the story. Because they're writing a review of the story. But now they're doing an introduction and conclusion. So what is the introduction and conclusion? First of all, tell us, Jacob, can you take a seat and move the cat? Tell us, Jacob, what did you like about the story?
I thought it was pretty funny where he killed his own hawk because he was like thirsty.
So you like that part because it's just kind of like seems so extreme, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything you didn't like about the story? No. Jacob, what didn't you like about the story? Anything?
The awkward silence
What didn't you?
after I finished reading. No, I'm kidding.
You'd be thinking.
I don't know.
Emilyn, was there anything you didn't like about the story?
I think they could have used a little bit better wording when they wrote it.
Oh, about the writing style. You weren't a fan of the writing style. What about the story itself?
Oh,
You're more elegant.
no,
And you're
just-
like,
Jake, no.
I don't really know.
Anybody? Emily, you don't have anything you don't like about the story?
Well, no. It's just like the way they wrote it. I don't really like it. What?
All right. So I'll tell you something I didn't like. At the end of the story, it said he had lost his friend, but he had learned a valuable lesson, as if those 2 things were equal. I kind of feel like killing your hawk, your like best friend hawk, which is supposedly what it was, would be a bigger price, too big of a price to pay for learning a valuable lesson. I don't know if the lesson was that valuable, but he had to learn it anyway. Okay. So turn to page 242, and what we're going to do, I'll write it up on the board for anybody watching if they want to follow along, is that we're actually going to outline a couple paragraphs together, the first being our conclusion, and the second being our introduction. Okay. Are you looking at 242? So this is going to be our conclusion. Is our conclusion going to actually start our paper?
No.
No, it's going to end our paper, but we're going to go ahead and put it up here first because it'll be easier to write. We can finish with an introduction to the whole thing that we've written. So you guys have already summarized it. What we're going to do now is work on a conclusion paragraph. So conclusion are going to answer a bunch of questions because we're writing a review of the story, okay? Can you guys turn to page 241?
Just turn to page 4.
Okay. Jacob, can you read, what is the conclusion? Read from the top of the page.
In the conclusion,
Discuss.
In the conclusion, discuss what you like or dislike about the story and why. This will require you to consider each aspect of the story to determine what you like and what you do not like. The following questions should help. What did you think of the story overall? What one word could you see to describe it?
Could you use to describe?
Begin your conclusion with a general statement that reveals your overall impressions or opinion on the story. Do not use vague adjectives like good, bad, interesting, wonderful, and the like. Use specific adjectives. You may choose from the examples that follow, or you may think of your own. Suspenseful, predictable, engrossing.
Engrossing.
Boring, tragic, heart-wrenching, powerful, thought-provoking, inspiring, captivating.
Do not say
Do
what.
not say I or my. Here's a template that might help. Genghis Khan and his hawk is
a blank.
Is a fill in the blank story. Fill in the blank.
Fill in the blank. Good. So we're not going to use I and we're not going to use my. Okay? Emilyn, then you're going to support that statement in your conclusion. So that's going to be the first sentence of your conclusion. Emmy, then you're going to support that statement by answering some questions. Can you read through the questions for us?
Is the style enjoyable? Does the author create a vivid image? Give examples. What is the best part or aspect of the story? Why? What is the worst part or aspect of the story? Think about the characters. Are they appealing and realistic? Why or why not? Does the story have much action or adventure? Where?
Jacob.
Was the conflict exciting? Why or why not?
Follow the question.
Did the story have suspense or mystery?
Pause for a second, Emmy. Jacob, you're supposed to be following the questions that Emilyn is reading. So
I
follow.
didn't know that.
Yep, follow along. That's why she's reading them. Okay, does the story, go ahead, Emmy. Does the story what?
Does the story have suspense or mystery? Where? And did it intrigue you? And why? In the hawk's death, why is the hawk's death so tragic or not tragic? How will it affect the readers? Was the climax, finding the serpent in the water, a surprise or predictable? Was the emotions?
What emotions?
What emotions will fill the reader at this point of the story?
Will the reader feel? That's right.
Are you happy with the resolution? Why or why not? Was it necessary for the hawk to die? Would the message be as powerful if the hawk had only been injured? What are the messages? In other words, what does the story teach? What do you think about the messages? Do you agree with them? The final sentence of the critique must repeat 1 to 3 key words from the title.
All right, so this is your conclusion. I think it should have said the final sentence of the conclusion. All righty. So let's start working on a conclusion. So here's your first sentence is going to tell us what you're talking about, and it's going to give you you need to figure out a word that describes the story. So their example was our story, which is Genghis Khan. Is it Khan? Genghis Khan and his hawk. Jacob, are you watching? So an example would be Genghis Khan and his hawk is a blank story where you come up with a very good adjective, a very strong descriptive adjective. Is a blank story that, and then continue to fill in your sentence, okay? So this would be a good topic sentence for your conclusion paragraph. I want you to write one down right now.
Looking up for adjectives.
Jacob, I want you to work on your topic sentence right now. I just described what it's supposed to be. Were you listening?
I thought that was just an example.
It is. You don't have to say it just like this, but if you can't think of one, I suggest you start with this one, and if you need to change it later, you can always change it later. So Genghis Khan and his hawk is think of a word that describes the story. What you think to do. Write it down. Pick it. Hey, Jake. Write it down. We're going to do.
This was just an example.
I want you to write down your sentence. You can start with this one if you want, or you can write down your own in your own piece of paper. Oh, do you have an outline in your book there?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Turn the page then. Oh, you're on the outline page? Okay. So we use keywords. So if you want to write 2 or 3 keywords, it could look like this. Oh, this is going to be our topic sentence instead of 1. Topic sentence. We could do GK. Oh, they did like GK plus H to stand. Jacob, are you looking up here? They did like GK plus H. What does that stand for? Especially if I put it in quotes. Jacob, what does it stand for?
Genghis Khan and hawk.
Mm-hmm. And his hawk, which is the title of the story, is what's a good adjective here? Think of a word that describes the story.
Tragic.
All right. Tragic. Story that what? Any ideas?
Involves death.
Involves death.
Warning.
I mean, what were you thinking? Is a tragic story that what?
Well,
Or is a what?
the
What? What?
story is thrilling, but the way they wrote it is not.
Warning. Rated R.
Well, we're just talking about the story itself, not so much the writing style. Okay.
Yeah, story.
Is it a what kind of story?
It's a horror movie.
Jacob, go ahead and write down some words for your topic sentence, buddy. Why don't you use the word tragic, buddy? I kind of like this little spinny guy. I hope it doesn't make people sick when they're watching. What's that?
Wait, so how many people are watching? Just the government?
There's us, and this is 2 other people watching. Sarah Gordon says, "Good morning." Hi, Sarah. Friends of ours from
Oh, yeah,
back
yeah. I saw her in the family.
So.
Hi! I don't even think I've seen you
It's
before.
all right.
Hi!
Jake, did you get your topic sentence? Is a tragic story that what? One idea we could say is has a powerful message. So those are our key words to remember that first sentence. Genghis Khan and his hawk is a tragic story with a powerful message. Or we could say is an insightful story that teaches us important lessons about anger. Jake, do you have something down?
I'm thinking about my favorite word.
Okay, we have about 5 sentences to go. Oops, let's write number 4. What do you like and dislike about the story?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay, let's talk about it. So, what do we think about the characters? Let's talk about the characters.
I think they could have described the characters a little better. They only described Genghis Khan as rash and unthoughtful. But I think they could have.
They only said the bad side.
You're talking about the writing style, which is not what we're critiquing. We're critiquing the story, the content of the story, not so much the style. So, let's talk about the style. Or not the style, the content. So, what do we think about the characters?
Rated and
Are these pretend people, or was Genghis Khan a pretend person or real?
No,
It was real, but this story's pretend.
So what if we said the characters in the story are intriguing because he was a real person?
But what about the hawk? Was that real?
Yes.
I don't know. We know that Genghis Khan was a real person. All right. What about the hawk, Jacob? I want you to write down these words. If you haven't written down your own words, write down the words I'm writing down because you're going to use them. So if you're struggling with something, just write down what I've got. You can always change it later, okay? All right. Next, let's say something about the hawk. Did you like the fact that the hawk was
Really murdered.
Well, I was going to say
that day.
that the hawk was described as his like best friend and that it was so loyal. What if we said the hawk was, what's a good word to describe the hawk? Jacob? Emmy?
Well,
Either one? Loyal? Yeah, we've used that word a bunch.
Smarter than
What about this one?
clear.
Admirable.
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 And we could say because he was, what about instead of loyal?
Not as pathetic as him.
Trusty.
Trusty.
This trusty hawk. Jacob, did you write those words down? If you don't have your own words, you need to write these ones right now.
I haven't.
There you go. All right. So maybe what other questions can we ask? What about was it kind of strange that the hawk knew that the water was poisoned?
Yeah.
How did the hawk know?
Yeah. Because it has eyes from above.
Do hawks usually know if a snake has poison in it, and if the snake is in a pool that the water will be poisoned?
Not often. That's extremely unrealistic.
Unrealistic. That's a good word. So this would be something you maybe didn't like about the story.
Yes.
It was unrealistic because hawks, what?
Don't often, like hawks don't have the brain capacity to do that.
Brains.
No capacity.
Capacity.
Brain capacity.
Capacity is a good word.
Capacity.
Capacity. There you go.
Capacity.
Jacob, what sentence are you on?
The same one here.
Okay.
Unrealistic hawks.
There you go. Unrealistic because hawks. So that was Emmy's idea. If you want to write something else about the hawk, you can. What did you guys think about the climax where he climbs up and he finds the fiber? Was that a good climax to the story?
No. Well.
So now we're going to make a comment. What didn't you like about the climax? Stop typing.
I'm getting the
What didn't you like about the climax of the story?
There's
There's a lot of things we don't like about this story.
So tell us something. This is what your review is for, to tell us what you liked or didn't like. Jacob, think about, I'm going to ask you next, buddy.
Tell us past the writing style.
Hey, Jacob, I'm going to ask you next. So think about something you didn't like. What didn't you like about the climax? Did you not think it was very exciting?
No, it was not exciting. It was not intriguing.
Okay, so you can say the climax where he finds the snake is not very exciting. So what we're going to do up in our outline for our keywords is going to write climax, snake, and then I'm going to write exciting, and I'm going to put a circle around it and cross it out. And that represents a sentence about the climax regarding the snake was not very exciting. Okay, Jacob, what didn't you like about the story? You said there were so many things you didn't like about it. Tell me one.
No, not me. I was saying there's so many things that we don't like about this.
Are you part of we? So what's something?
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the way that they kind of made it a tiny bit suspenseful.
No, they didn't.
Hold on, Eddie. He's talking.
Like they described in too much detail.
You think it was like it took too long to get there or something, or it was trying to build up the suspense too much?
It took 2.5 paragraphs to reach the part where it strikes down.
Yeah. So you thought they should have got to that part sooner. Okay. Can you write what would a sentence be about what you thought about that?
suspenseful. Nothing else.
What do you
A sentence, Jake.
Oh.
Tell us a sentence. You just told me an idea. Turn it into a sentence.
I'm not a fan of the fact that they. I'm not a fan of the fact that they. Made the paragraphs before the hub was struck down suspenseful.
Okay. So could we say, in a simple sentence, could we say, I'm not a fan that it took so long to build the suspense?
No, but they also did not build.
Emmy, hold on. I'm talking with Jacob. Jacob, could we say that? I'm not a fan that it took so long to get to the climax.
Oh, I have to be doing this based on my.
No, that's fine. You're reviewing the original story, not your summary of the story. So Jacob, did you hear what I just said? I'm not a fan that it took so long to what?
Took so long to reach.
To reach the climax of the story. Good job. So did you write 3 words for that? This is our keyword outline. What else? Let's finish up by saying something about the message of the story. Did you think that they effectively taught their lesson from the story where he struck down his hawk because he was angry? Was it an effective way? Why was it effective, Emilyn?
Well, effective in what way? Like it.
Is it an effective way of teaching this lesson? Like, do you think people would remember this and learn from the story rather than make their own mistake?
I don't actually know.
Do you think you will? Do you think because of this story you will remember not to act in anger?
Not
You
really.
kill your trusty hawk?
Not really.
Okay, so if you don't think so, you could say, why? Actually, let me go back to Emilyn here. Why? I have a thought. Jacob, why?
The way they wrote it.
Yeah, what could they have done to make it more effective?
Not necessarily use bigger words, but just maybe less of them.
What about this? Jacob. Hi. Jacob, what do you think about? He didn't seem very sad. They didn't describe him as
All they said is he felt repent.
He,
Or a wave of repent washed over
what
him.
did it actually say? Jacob, can you find that part and read it?
He said, "What have I done?" He lamented for at that moment he realized the hawk had only been trying to save him. I have killed my best friend. What a rash fool I was not to have trusted him and to have let my temper consume me. So with that, he climbed down the rocks, picked up the stricken bird, and headed home. That's just.
So they could
He
have.
said, "Oh no!"
So it doesn't seem like he's really that upset.
Mm-hmm.
So what could have happened to make it a little more effective in that way?
Story, so we could say all these things.
So if we're telling this story and we want people to remember it, we have to use really descriptive language. So Emily and Jake, let's make a little sentence here. The lesson, we could say it, was it effective? Oops, effective.
Yeah, it was not.
And we'll circle it and say, no, not effective, because it wasn't very, he didn't seem very, what?
Saddened about the loss of his friends.
Saddened.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a word.
Yeah. I think I spelled it right. I can double check it. Jake, sit down and write your sentences.
I already did.
You wrote that last sentence we just wrote as I was writing it?
Oh, I didn't notice you were right.
Yes, because you were playing with the balloon. Yeah, I spelled it right. Okay. The lesson was not very effective because he didn't seem very saddened. Okay? Now, for our final sentence, our clincher, what do we do for our final sentence?
It repeats 2 or 3 keywords title.
So we need to have 2 or 3 keywords from our not title,
Oh yeah.
from our
Topic sentence.
topic sentence. So what was our topic sentence, Jake? Can you tell me what 3 words you have in your topic?
I only have 2.
What are they?
Okay, that's tragic, insightful.
Insightful. All right. So can you repeat or reflect 2 of those words or those 2 words in your final sentence? So you could say, instead of tragic, Sarah says you sound just like Missy.
She does. Does she?
When Mommy met Sarah, she was only 8 years old.
Okay.
20.
Nothing tragic and insightful. Nothing's tragic and insightful. It's this story.
Nothing in this story is tragic or insightful.
No, actually, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is certainly your critique, your opinion. Okay. All right. I want to shift real quick. Hey, Jacob. I've already told you there are to be no balloons, so put it in the living room, please.
What?
You can have balloon time when we go on break. We're not ready for break yet. I'm going to help you get your intro wrapped up. Thanks. Okay. Here's our introduction. And what are you doing? Please don't. We're just doing outlines right now. Let's learn how to outline an introduction. So an introduction should start with some way of getting the attention of the reader. Okay? And then for the review of this story, we're going to talk about the title and the author. Okay? Then we're going to have a sentence that talks about the publisher
The author is
and the date. Don't interrupt for a second, bud. Jacob, are you following along? Amy?
Yes.
I want you to close your laptop, please. Thank you. Then we're going to talk about the type of the story. And then we're going to talk about the background. Jacob, tell me what I just said. What are the first 4 sentences?
The first is about the title and author. The second is about
No, what's the first one?
topic sentence.
No.
It's going to be an
Attention.
attention getter. Then the next sentence is going to tell.
The title and author.
Yeah. Then we're going to talk about.
The publisher and the date.
Yeah. And then we're going to talk about what?
Type.
The type of story. And then we're going to say what?
Background.
Give a little bit of background for the story. Okay? There's a little background help below your outline. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Read the bottom paragraph. See that? Jacob, turn your page, bud. Other way. There you go. Nope. Okay, attention getter. Emilyn, what is your attention
This
getter
is
for this?
no,
Jacob,
no.
Jacob, quiet, please. I asked Emmy. Go ahead, Emmy.
I said this is a murder story.
This is the story of how I died.
No, that's a murder story.
So,
No, we don't.
This
Can
is-
we backstabbing betrayal?
No, no, no.
About to.
we're not going to say this is a blank story. We're going to use our attention to talk about the fact that we are,
The story contains murder.
yeah.
Sad,
Well-
wait, no.
Warning.
Tragic murder and. No, dang it. I can't.
Give me an indicative statement, just a statement about the tragedy and murder of this bird.
Let's see. Can I make it like
So the example they have is Jacob. The example they have is life often teaches us difficult lessons.
That's not
a murder.
Not very good. So what's a better one?
Unconventional murder.
Yes.
How about murder is always a tragedy, especially when it's between friends.
No.
Not bad. Jacob,
Murder story.
give me an attention getter about the story. Something about the story.
Warning this story.
Warning? No,
Yeah,
no warning.
warning.
No. An attention getter. Emmy, write something down.
I did.
I'm thinking.
So Jacob needs an attention better. We'll come back to that. Please don't shake the table. All right, next, the title and the author. What do we know? Jacob, go back to the actual story and look at it. It says,
We know nothing.
what do we know?
It says Genghis Khan ruled the huge.
No. Jacob, look at the story and see if you know who the title, or tell what the title and the author are.
Genghis Khan is all.
All right,
It doesn't say.
really?
Yeah.
It's retold by somebody.
It doesn't say that.
It says in my outline. Where did I get it? Quiet, please, buddy. I said quiet, please.
It's not there.
But got it.
Hold on.
Everyone, piece together. One dot. Got it. Got it. Jackie, please stop. What is it? What's your turn? No.
Hey guys, I want you to be quiet. Trying to find out where it says this. I don't see where it says, and yet somehow in their outline it says who. Oh, silly me. You are the retelling. So we don't know who the original author is. Here we go. So the title is what?
Genghis Khan and his hawk.
So Jacob, write this down. Genghis Khan and his hawk. And the author is unknown.
Me.
But it's being retold by who?
Moi.
Retold by you. So then you'll put your name, okay? The original story, hold on, was published.
And the
We're on sentence number 2. Published. We'll call it by IEW, which is Institute for Excellence in Writing, in 2018. Can you write that down, Jacob? Head up, please. Off to. Write that down.
Oh dang it! I accidentally wrote the thing in the. I accidentally wrote the title and author and the attention page.
So sentence number 2 is going to be about who the publisher is and when. Sentence number 3.
Hang on, Daddy. I still have to write them down.
Yeah, I know, but I want you to pay a little better attention so you're not.
No, but I
Thank you. Wait for Jake. Oh, Jake, you're on sentence 1. I'm not going to wait. You have to go back and rewrite those. Jump down to 3 with us, buddy. Jacob, look at me. Jump down to number 3. So number 3 is, what type of story is this?
it's
Anybody know?
attempting at being suspenseful.
Is it a modern story? No. What is it?
Medieval.
Medieval. Is it? Yeah, medieval.
Yeah, 1200.
You know how to spell medieval?
M-I-D-I-E-L-E.
I think is it E-I or I-E? It's one of those tricky. Oh, it's I-E, I got it right. Medieval, M-E-D-I-E-V-A-L. Medieval story. You could also say it's a classic if you want.
But not.
Okay. You could also say it's a legend.
Maybe not.
Yeah, it's a legend. With a moral. Can we say it has a moral at the end? For sure. Okay. Got those written down? I want you to be writing as I'm writing, okay? Okay, so we've got a little bit of background to talk about. No. We're not going to look it up. Keep your computer closed.
No.
Okay, so let's say who is Genghis Khan?
Genghis Khan is the ruler of the Mongolian Empire in the 1200s.
Genghis Khan, Mongolian ruler, 1200s. Nice. So for our story review, we've included an attention getter, which I didn't put up here, but because the one in the book the kids didn't like. Something to get people's attention in this first introduction paragraph. Then we're going to describe who the title and author is and the fact that we retold it. Then the publisher and the date. We'll tell what type of story it is and a little bit of background information. Yes, Emilyn?
Can I start typing it? Or my conclusion?
No, we need to move on with our day.
To what?
Something else.
Such as? A break. No.
I'm
Heating.
going to answer a question real quick.
It is oh, come on. You have leg rests, whatever it's called, things.
Mhm. Okay. You guys should have everything you need because tomorrow we'll start typing or writing our rough drafts. Hi, Jacob. Okay. So we're going to shift gears for a second.
We're going to do like
To break?
No.
Oh, I didn't mean to close that. All right. Got it.
Can we shift gears to break?
No, we just had some nice breaks. And what I want to shift gears to is to go over some of our memory stuff in a little more detail that we've been learning. Well, I have decided what we're doing. So we're going to look at either history or science for a minute.
Let's do science. History or science.
All right. Was that week 19 that we just did?
I think so.
Did you guys do the Anasazi?
No.
You didn't.
No.
Did you do the mound builders?
No, I think that's the wrong cycle.
Oh yeah, it's cycle 1.
So listen.
Okay, so each week we have some things that we memorize. This is part of the classical conversations curriculum.
No,
And last week,
listen,
did you guys do the Korean War?
I think so.
Jacob, can you put your pencil down?
Here, wait, let me see.
In 1950, General Douglas MacArthur led the United Nations forces to stop. Alrighty. And then science is, what is the first law of thermodynamics?
The first law of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be created or destroyed.
All right. So how did they discover that? Hmm?
Don't know. I have no idea. Maybe
What is-
No, wait. No, stop.
What does that mean? That energy cannot be created or destroyed?
It can be generated.
What can happen to energy?
Generate. Or use.
Well, it can be converted from one form into another form. But you can't create energy from nothing. It has to come from somewhere. You have to convert it. So sometimes we'll find little videos to watch where other smart people talk about these things. So Emilyn, can I see your laptop? So while we're broadcasting on YouTube, hey JJ, put your pencil down. Oh, we only want YouTube kids on this one, I forgot.
Yeah, because
Can you get me the school iPad, please?
you could just allow
So we're going to find a little video that talks about the law of thermodynamics. Jacob, quiet your mouth, please. The rapping is too much while we're all sitting here.
Okay, fine.
We've talked about this before.
Daddy, could it not be?
We will see what it will be. Okay. What is the first law? Where's the case? Can you grab the case? Well,
It's broken.
it works for this. Alrighty. So we are on science. We're getting ready to watch a little see, buddy.
Come on, I have to see ya.
Here's a 4-minute video that talks about the first law. If you're watching with us, you're not going to be able to see it, but we'll turn it up so you can hear it,
Oh, dang it.
and then we'll have a little discussion afterwards.
Can we do the Khan Academy one?
Are you sure?
Why?
Want to do the Khan Academy?
No,
one?
I want to do a different one.
That one's 17 minutes long. I don't think we
But
should do
it'll
that.
go into more.
What do you not like about this one?
It's gonna be like this.
Hard to understand.
So, no, I
Wait.
want. No.
Crash course in thermodynamics, 10 minutes? I don't want to do 10 minutes. Professor Dave explains laws of thermodynamics. The first and 0th law. That's funny. Not that guy. There's a lot of videos on here about the first law of thermodynamics, but they're pretty long.
Well, if they're short.
Wait a second.
Miss
Does
Here.
Bill Nye?
No, please.
You don't want?
Why not, Bill?
You don't have to pin it though. You can just ask. That was definitely panic. Okay, we're gonna try this
You
one.
don't want to suffer the embarrassment.
Is that a commercial?
It looks like it,
Yeah,
doesn't
well,
it?
I couldn't tell, so I couldn't see the yellow line.
So here I have a balloon filled with hydrogen. It has a lot of chemical energy as hydrogen gas, and when mixed with oxygen, it's a very potent
Take some
fuel.
please in.
By igniting the balloon, I add energy, and I set off a reaction between the hydrogen and oxygen that releases a lot of energy in the form of heat. The conservation of energy is one of the fundamental principles of our universe. Simply put, it says that in a closed system, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed from one form to another. The first law of thermodynamics takes this idea and modifies it for thermodynamic systems. It relates the internal energy of the system to the amount of heat added to the system and the amount of work done by the system. If we look at the explosion again with a thermal camera, you can see quite clearly how hot the explosion was. But the total amount of energy in the room is the same as before I blew up the balloon. It's just changed from behind the formulation of this law. At the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, both scientists and engineers were creating steam engines in the hope that they could harness energy to further society and industry. The advantage was that they could automate some jobs and match, if not exceed, the power of the human labor force. Steam engines are based on the idea of heating water under pressure until it becomes steam. As it's heated, it expands and pushes a piston that produces mechanical work, be it moving a train or pumping liquids or any number of other functions. Blowing up hydrogen balloons is fun, but the conversion of chemical energy to heat isn't particularly useful. But what we could do is put it to good use in something like a rocket. In physics, work is done when a force is applied to an object and that object then moves a distance. One of the simplest ways of making this hydrogen do work for me is to build a rocket. The hydrogen and oxygen fuel mixture is exactly the same as with the balloon, but whereas the balloon expanded outwards in all directions with the explosion, the rigid wall of the Pringles can funnels the energy in one direction. The chemical energy is then converted into heat and kinetic energy, and by moving the rocket forward, useful work is performed. Rockets are useful if you want to send someone into space, but if I want to use my hydrogen for a more terrestrial use, then I'm going to have to harness the energy in a different way, or transform it to a more useful form. What I've done here is attach my rockets to a wheel, and when it spins, it's doing work as the rockets move around. Now, what I can do is attach a dynamo here, which when the wheel spins, will convert this kinetic energy into electrical energy, which I can then store for later use. The problem with this is that all throughout this process, you're losing energy in the form of heat to the room, rather than using it to do useful work. Because of this, it's actually a rather inefficient system. While no energy is destroyed, because it can't be, too much of it is lost into the room as heat energy. This issue isn't one that's just isolated to my rocket contraptions, but the issue of efficiency, which is trying to get more useful work out of the same energy input while battling energy loss, is one that's as important today as it was during the Industrial Revolution.
finished that, Daddy, or we
You
didn't.
finished? Okay, you can go back to your seats.
This is my permanent seat. I use the big word.
Okay.
Well, that was interesting.
Okay, tell me about it.
So I don't remember any of
Okay, let's see
I'm
if
kidding.
let's see if anyone can help you.
She basically said that she reiterated that energy cannot be created or destroyed, but it can be lost, like as different kind of energy. Well, no, like so you like I have a really big room,
Mhm.
and then there's like a balloon, and then a hydrogen balloon. She exploded the balloon by putting fire on it,
Mhm.
and the energy was no longer in that one area. It was like in the whole room, so you couldn't really track it.
Right. So it didn't go away. It just spread out.
Mhm.
Right. Jacob, what else? What else did we learn?
She made a
Come on, Bev.
rocket out of a Pringles can.
Why? Why'd you do that?
To show the kind of energy.
What did it show?
That compressed energy. Steam energy, not steam energy. Compressed energy can make force that propels certain object. Well, not certain. Propels objects.
Right. So the energy.
Enough pressure.
So the energy changed from one type to another. Do you know the kind of energy that it's called when things move?
Yes, that is
Hold
kinetic.
on, I'm asking.
Oh, potential. No, kinetic.
Kinetic energy is the energy of things in motion. Yeah. So the energy changed, and was all of it used, or was some of it lost?
Oh, some lost.
Some of it's lost. So most interactions or conversions of energy, you lose some. They're not perfectly efficient. So the energy kind of leaks out in other forms as well. Okay. Alrighty. Energy. We're gonna finish our morning with some
break.
elective time. Emilyn, do you know what you're gonna do for your elective this morning? We're gonna work on some piano. Jacob, put the balloon down. Thank you. We're gonna have to get rid of those balloons. Come here, buddy. Come here. Don't stop playing yet, Emily, okay? Do you know what you're gonna do for your elective time?
Maybe thinking of ideas for my Dobby card game.
For your what card?
Dobby card.
Gobble.
Dobby.
Can you explain what you're making?
Oh, okay. I'm making I changed it. I'm making a very unpredictable card game. As unpredictable as how I'm designing it keeps changing. But
So
right now it's this sort of card game.
Mm-hmm. He's making a card
It's
game.
about goblin warfare,
Mm-hmm.
and I designed it. I haven't started making pieces yet. I haven't had time for that, but it's like the cards are made of not paper, but like this. Well, so far this is my version that I have right now. The cards are going to be made of some sort of some stuff. Like a video game, but you're not I designed it to make it look like a video game that's not on the screen, basically.
Yeah, so it'll be a real life game. You're gonna design the pieces. Are you just gonna have cards, or are there gonna be pieces in addition to cards? Just cards.
Just cards right now.
So Jacob's in the design phase for his cards, although he's got several of them designed already. And then what we got to do is figure out what's the best kind of material to actually print and put them on, and then we'll cut them out and he'll actually have his cards.
Yeah.
So he's gonna work on that.
And they have little spaces there's cards there's goblin cards which have the goblins on them, and then there's other kinds of cards that have I think they're called structured cards. Yeah, I think that's what I call them. That if it's a castle, it has each card has certain item spots, and for castle you could put a cannon or I don't know, or just stuff. And then certain goblins can have a certain amount of a certain weapon arsenal that you can edit with little chips that fit into the cards to make stuff.
So lots of ideas.
So I made it. Yeah. So I made it so I can play even without. I can play the game without having it be 2-player. And then of course you can also have battles with other players.
So what's the next step today? What do you need to start working on?
I don't know yet.
Well, what do you have? What haven't you designed? Have you designed everything?
No, probably not.
Okay,
Well,
so we'll keep working
I
on.
haven't wrote it. It's all in my head right now. I have to write it down on my
Gotcha.
notebooks and stuff.
Let's do
Also,
that.
I have to show it to Atticus.
Listen, please. We're not going to show it to Atticus yet.
I know, but I
What-
just want to write it down. So
Yeah, we are going to write it down. So Jacob's going to finish writing down. If you have an elective or a project you want to work on, I encourage you to have some project time today. The homework the kids are going to have this afternoon is mostly just going to be reading. They each have Emilyn has a little bit of math. Jacob probably has a little bit of outline to finish up. I think that's going to be it. Time for me to do some piano. If you're hanging out with us today, we'd love to hear from you. Hold on. If you're hanging out with us today, we'd love to hear from you. We'll keep working on our little broadcast here. We'll keep broadcasting. And if there are kiddos who are at home and not having school right now, but would love to be engaged in the learning, we'd like to keep doing this. So that's fine. All right. So thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you tomorrow.